All right. So it should be streaming on all of my different platforms. I do have something that I want to share about the recent incidents um, with Ye. Um, I won't try to be long nor long-winded. You guys know me if you follow me, if you've been following me from Sincerely Rain, Raphael, even now following me with Blacklovesmiths. Um, then you know I only share when I feel something on my heart. And I really feel something on my heart when it comes to this Kanye thing, so much so that I had to write it down. And I hope that it will help our community understand this brother better. And I know that everybody's like, no, he's a mess. But I think there's something that we need to take a look at together, if that's okay with y'all. If you know me, then you know I am big on alternative perspectives. It's not because I'm trying to be different, it's because my mind works differently. And I think that's something that I can understand, not to compare myself with Ye or anything like that, but in the sense of just knowing that my mind works a little differently than what the status quo would present for someone in my demographic. I've always been the kind of person to speak upward and outly and about things that are going on around us as a community, so that we can kind of take in certain possibilities about what's being presented to us and what is actually happening. So, I didn't want to say anything about Ye. I really didn't. I was like, but I have an unction on my life to speak when I'm told to, and that's whatever's in my spirit is what I'm told to share. So my my title is a little bit misleading because some have a tendency to look at Ye and Ye's speech and assume that everyone is upset at what he said. And I am actually not upset. It's very hard to actually make me upset with words by other people. Um, so that's not the direction I'm coming from. I actually come from the direction of whenever somebody in my demographic speaks, I do squint my eyes to focus and listen and try to see where they're coming from. And there are certain times where they just be lying out their face, talking out the side of their neck, and I cannot, in good conscience, have a defense for that. And that has happened in the past. I feel that way about things that I've come across, for instance, with the R. Kelly situation. Okay, I'll just throw that out there. That's something that I don't feel like I can get behind R. Kelly with. Okay. So there are times where but I did listen and I did pay attention and I did hear. And I think that that's something that's important because one of the things that I put in the description of this live is that a freedom song is still beautiful and necessary, even if the psalmist or the person singing it has no voice or sounds terrible. Okay. So when you hear, go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Whether you were in the field or you were in the house or whatever it was that was going on with the generations past, when that song came, they knew that there was a plan that was happening, that we were supposed to gather around and move forward. It didn't matter if the person singing it sounded good or not. It didn't matter if they liked the way it was sang. It was still a freedom song. And I would like to take that idea and that concept and move it towards what I've been hearing when I started to listen to the Kanye interview. Now, I haven't listened to the whole thing. What I've listened to is enough for me to help you maybe take a better listen. I'm going to finish listening to it though, because I believe this brother is doing something that we might not realize. Whether you guys are comfortable calling him a genius or not, that's not my battle to fight. I remember coming out as a secular artist before me and my husband decided to do faith-based music, and I called myself a queen, and it ruffled feathers, and people didn't feel like a little girl from Norwalk should have the audacity to call herself a queen. Though I've carried myself like that ever since. Even in my mistakes, even in my imperfections, I own them, I speak about them, And there's no way to make me feel like I don't have rulership and leadership over myself, which is my kingdom. That the rules that I make for myself belong to me, which is one of the reasons why I can listen to someone being fed to me as if they were crazy and hear something different because I want to make the decision for myself. So, all of that preface to get to this part here, I noticed something when I was listening to Kanye that hit me later. He said he was me tooing, like the Me Too movement. He was me tooing a certain powerful religious organization, a certain powerful religious community. Um, and what I believe he meant by that is that Ye is offering up, or he has even offered up, his original brand identity. I wrote some notes down, so if you see me looking down, I'm trying to be respectful of your time. But he offered up his original and sacrificed his original brand identity, which is Kanye, to be a financially violated victim in public. Financial violation. All right. So he did this under this new legal name as Ye. And he did this, I believe, to create a more liberated brand, right? So that's where this is going. Stick with me. I think what Kanye did, he did this because he seeks to be the only person or the first person to openly accuse and then prove cultural like stagnation by the hands of propaganda, media, and power exploitation of a people. I believe that's what he's trying to do. And I believe that Kanye is positioning, or Ye, I want to respect his new name. Ye is positioning himself in a way to say, to come to us, the public, and say, guys, they are manipulating and violating the purest essence of me by force without my permission, without my current consent. Um, and so you can decide what that sounds like to you. And that is why you get that Me Too um, comparison coming from him. And to have like an entity of any sort operate in your intimate circles, or operate in other intimate circles, rather, to put you into an intimate circle, or to operate on your behalf in an intimate way, based on their old understanding of an agreement that you guys had, but no longer have anymore, that's a violation, right? And I noticed that at 5 minutes in and 45 seconds of his interview, um, there was this ominous sound that happened. And I believe that's because he's disrupting the atmosphere with what he's doing right now. The LA apparel that he's talked about around this marker, they decided not to release his White Lives Matter tee, right? It's not about the tee. For him, it's about going against the current of conversation. So if everybody's talking Black Lives Matter, when we find out later on in years that the money has been embezzled and misused, right? It's Kanye saying perhaps we should have been looking the other direction. Perhaps we should have been going another way. Perhaps we should have questioned everything, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You may not like the way the freedom song sounds, but that doesn't make it less beautiful. You may not like it, all right, but we need it. So then he talks about this DEFCON tweet at 4 minutes and 35 seconds into this interview. And he says that Dove Charney, the person who decided not to release his tea, this is what he says, it was a flex of power. And he wanted to flex his power by over examining Ye's evidence, right? Which means that he then cancels the shirt and demands that Ye visits the Holocaust Museum. But Ye had presented evidence to him of a violation. right? And in that violation, Dove had examined that evidence and made a verdict that demeaned the original accusation or the original complaint from the plaintiff, who is Kanye. So it's Kanye versus power, and Ye is standing as his eyewitness. I hope that that makes sense. Okay. So what happens is Ye plays a key witness to what they did to Kanye, who is accusing power of a mass and gross intimate violation of his essence, which is his name, his brand, and who he was before he had to change to Ye, right? Um, they put out documentaries, he says, without his permission, um, using his name and likeness in all perpetuity throughout the universe. That's what the contracts say, right? So he cannot continue as Kanye West because Kanye West is owned by an entity that he says is violating him, right? Um, and anybody who supports that type of violation of someone's essence are basically siding with an abusive person or an abusive entity in this case, right? So he's complaining of abuse. That's what's happening right here. And it's hard for you to see him as a victim because of the abuse that he received, is what he's saying. If you understood how he was abused, you'd understand why you don't think he's a victim. All right. So 7 minutes in, he says, they'll take the brightest of us that can feed a whole village. And then Stevie Wonder's son has to get a job. But Karen Azoff, which is Irving Azoff's, he's $400 million rich executive father, associated with Ticketmaster, Live Nation, and IMG. That boy can get an immediate job. And that he uses that as an example to say that if Ye gets publicly violated in the essence of this global market, in a business financial platform, if he gets violated without justice, and all those who admit to the violation then get violated too, then a movement has begun. That's what he's saying, right? Why? Because there's only one Ye. There's only one Kyrie. There's only one Rain, who is now Joe. We all had to change our essence because the power is volatile and abusive. That's what he's saying. So whenever you listen, whenever you listen to Kanye in the beginning, whatever made you sign up with Kanye, that has not changed in this current violation, which makes me feel like his brand is intact. The people who have listened before will listen again, which makes this a different game, right? Because if you are truly a lover of what's right and what's righteous, you could not, in good conscience, let freedom or let the freedom of what Ye is calling love speech, which is basically speaking the truths he's found to be self-evident through his experience. You could not let that result in the repossession of his assets and endorsements. You would not let the truth hurt like that, hurt the person speaking it like that. That's what he's saying. So at 10 minutes in and 42 seconds of this interview, Ye compares his authenticity to being like viewed in a glass box where he can be seen but he can't be heard. It's like he's talking but he's been muted. You can't hear his sound. He's been censored. He's been tuned out. And so I chose to listen to what he had to say, and I let him plead his case with this situation. And so for me, it was like, all rise, right? Let's play the game, right? All rise. The court is now in session with the honorable listeners presiding. You judge it, right? The plaintiff is Ye West. His opening remarks was that a powerful religious organization that runs the industry he's attached to and has been attached to for decades, all right, that he knows quite well, is violating him in his very essence, in his very existence, and in the essence of others and others' existence that identify with the same pronouns and definitions and adjectives that he uses. In front of the world, he is saying, I am being violated and I would like to change that. And then the defense, the powerful religious, possibly organization, is saying to you, the public, the judge, that Ye is exhibiting hate speech by claiming to be victimized, and that anyone associated with this alleged victim is committing a heinous act. And anyone who takes an opinion outside of let's burn him at the stake, at the financial stake, remember, let's try to go with the metaphors here, is deserving of the same financial hardship, which is exactly what's happening to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving hasn't said anything to support really Kanye on a full blown scale. Ye or Kanye, he's not mentioned in that way as far as I've seen. What he did do, though, is he put out supportive information that information would support some of the things that Ye did say. Now, I'm going to tell you something about me. I don't agree with everything that Ye said. I don't like some of the things he said, and some of the things he did say are actually wrong in terms of biblical standards. Y'all know I run a podcast on Sabbath, Friday, or Saturday. Sometimes it drops when God tells me. And I am currently reading this King James Bible, and some of Kanye's understandings are wrong, which is why I've said last week I'd like to sit in a room with Kanye and just get him the message that God has for him specifically. So if y'all can do that, y'all let me know so I can be obedient to God. That's all I want. I don't need nothing else. But I think it's important to know that if someone is accused of abuse, the victim deserves an investigation. I believe that. So let's investigate. The defense, yay. He says, I'm sorry, the plaintiff, yay. He's presenting some evidence, and I won't present it all because it was a long interview, and like I said, I haven't finished the whole thing. But let's just talk about some of the first things. I can do this with the first 10 minutes, just about. Here we go. Exhibit A is at minute 7 and 55. He says that Harley Pashnick, who trains Lizzo, released his hospital visit to the press, as did the third episode of the documentary that is in his name and essence and his likeness and put out, right? He says they've done this to say that we like Ye just like the rest of y'all like him. We know he's a genius, but sometimes you got to turn the cameras off him. All right. And so he says they'll go get a brother. He didn't say brother, but I'm going to say brother. That's my friend that's been taping me the whole time and buy this man for $30 million. Right. And then at 8 minutes and 30 seconds, he says, Ye's basically, so this is his sworn testimony because we can run it back and we can prove it, that he never consented to that documentary. And you're saying, how is that even possible? How could that even happen? And we go back to this being Ye as a eyewitness to Kanye West being violated by his essence, having his name and his likeness used in the universe with all perpetuity, signed in a contract to people he's no longer what we use the term as in bed with. So he no longer wants to sleep in that contract with the people he's in bed with. But those people continue to sleep with him, which is why he's using vulgar language, because he wants to draw the understanding of the violation. If someone were to continue to sleep with you after you said, no, thank you anymore, I'm not interested, how would you feel? You would feel violated. That's where this is coming from, right? So he's saying, I'm being powerfully violated. against my will because I've signed over at one point into a relationship that I no longer want to be a part of, but that they're stalking me from. So I've gone into kind of my own witness protection as yay. And I'm coming out now to explain what happened to me. And y'all don't want to hear it because of the very thing that happened to me, which is while they were sleeping with me against my will, they continued to use me against my will. And they used me against my will to create someone in front of you that I am not, so that you would not hear who I've become. And now you have to ask yourself, as the people of the public making the decision, the judgment on this, is that a violation that is warranting or deserving of a righteous decision from you, right? Okay, I'm gonna get wrap it up soon, but let me just keep going here a little bit. He says paparazzi takes pictures of you, you get no money off of, and then you just get used to getting screwed by what we're gonna keep calling powerful religious organizations. His exhibit B is at 8 minutes in and 48 seconds. He says 4 SoFi Stadium shows, he's tight about this, canceled him because he wore a t shirt that went against the current language of the powerful religious organization's business. All right. Exhibit C he presents, and he says there's a disproportionate flip in who gets to be the ambassadors of wealth. That's what he's saying. He didn't say that. That's Joe's words, right? I like words. But he's basically saying the ambassadors of wealth don't get to be Hebrew. Okay. In around 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm very clear. I said Hebrew, not what we're talking about lately in the media. I'm talking about Hebrew, which is my belief system. I'm talking about the people in the Bible who still exist today. I'm a Hebrew. All right. So we don't get Hebrews. We don't get to be the ambassadors of wealth. Okay. And around 9 minutes and 30 seconds in, Ye explains that if a Hebrew male is caught with drugs in his car, everyone in the car is going to jail, right? But if that same Hebrew male has balled with on the basketball court from the time he was 4 with a group of other Hebrew males that were in the car with him and honed his skills, and some of those Hebrew males have kept him at top-notch shape, which means they can contend with him, and he becomes successful enough for them to think that he deserves to be put into the NBA, he will get that deal, but everyone in the car will not, because the good doesn't get dispersed that way for Hebrews. But the bad, the punishments are dispersed in full, is what he's trying to say. And then he went on to give another example. He said that, so basically what happens is like, let me elaborate on that. So I don't want to miss this little note, if I can tie it in with you. Basically what he's saying is that the only person in that car when one of them is MBA level to get an MBA check is the one of them in the car, even though all of them in the car have played against each other. So all of them are most likely of MBA talent, right? But that's not how the checks work. All right. And so what happens is they're going to give that one person a check, the one that's willing to have their coaches inserted over them and over the 4 other starting 5 in the car, right? Going a little further, to put it plainly, you don't get to take your milk crate to the pros. So yeah, it was a milk crate that you was dunking on, that you was balling on, that you was out there on them cracked up courts, honing those skills that made you something amazing. But you don't get to take that with you into the league, because we need to insert power over you. And when we insert the power over you, then you can come with us, but we're not going to go with you. That's what he's trying to say. Because then he goes in to say, he gives an example of how um, if that power, that power decides that um, that new Hebrew boy, that Hebrew boy who can play ball, if they decide that he deserves a terrible contract, right? The media, not the media, let me not say that. I'm trying to do this for y'all, JoJo's way here. If that little boy on the milk crates gets a terrible raw deal, it's almost his fault. And it only gets on the power only gets blamed in that one entity. Oh, I don't know why he did that boy like that. That's so bad, right? But if the power picks the right boy and gives him, and the contract goes well, and that boy does all that he said he would do, the power will employ more power, not more boys, more power. So that boy will now have that power's cousin as a lawyer, that power's niece as a stylist, that power's uncle as an endorsement. And as soon as that little boy stops acting like he wants to be a part of the power will fall onto him and smother him out in a financial violation, like this man, this boy is trying to explain to us. He's trying the best he can to explain it to us that he is being violated financially in the worst way you can imagine. Okay? So that's where that starts. Everyone in their circle will eat from that one Hebrew boy, but that one Hebrew boy cannot feed everyone in his circle from multiple people in that powers circle. Yeah? He has to take the one check and feed all his people, right? Because that's how power operates. We're not going to relinquish the power for you, little Hebrew boy, but we will become more powerful with you because you're a Hebrew boy of great talent, right? Exhibit D, 12 minutes and 55 seconds. The plaintiff, I'm sorry, Kanye, is uh is the witness, for him, says that there are people who are encouraging ritualistic intimacy by a fireplace to honor the dead. And you might have missed this, but I don't miss stuff like that because of God's calling on my life, right? And it says that this behavior results in JP Morgan Chase branding and in Hulu branding becoming more and more. Why? Because they are becoming more and more um, relevant in the world because of the bending and flexing that its sponsorship um, has done with someone like Kim, who endorses those two brands. Why? Because just as early as September, she has media associations with those two big corporations. Media associations, however, savory or unsavory, it doesn't matter. She's associated with them as early as September. So him saying that he sees an influx of their branding, he's saying that she's helping them become more powerful while they dismiss his $40 million. dollars. And then he says the devil is a defeated foe. I understand spiritual warfare, so I heard that. All right. I heard that. All right. Exhibit E, on 13 minutes in and 33 seconds, he goes until 14, about a minute of this, 14 minutes and 32 seconds. He explains that his children were kidnapped by the Kardashians. All right. This is his testimony. Okay. So whether or not you believe it or not, this is this man's testimony. This is him saying, this is what's happening to me. Just as you would listen to anybody else who says they've been violated in their most intimate section of their life. Okay. Um, and he said that none of his industry friends came to help him. So he has no industry friends. And being a soundbite king, all right, which he is, he makes sure we draw comparison to him and Michael Jackson, him and Michael Jordan, him and Michael Johnson. He wants us to draw his connections to all the Michaels. And he says he's the richest. So he played the game the deepest, is what he's saying, that he has credibility to speak this way because he's seen the game at the lowest and the highest. So if there's anyone to believe, it would be him, is why he said that. He's not saying that to gloat, but we are so programmed to believe that this little boy from Chi-Town who misses his mother only wants to provoke. But really, all he wants to do is enlighten and to get you to think for yourself, which is why he says groupthink is something that they've pushed onto us. And I have preached that to this same very audience when I was Raphael, for years. I have told you that my job is not to get you to think like me. I'm not concerned about that at all. All I owe to the Most High God is that you remember and recognize that you're entitled to think how you think and to do it, to encourage you to do it. That's all I'm doing. All right. I've told you many times, if everybody runs left, I'm looking at the right. And I might even start walking that way because I want to know what they're running from. I'm not going to be scared just because y'all scared. I want to know what you're running from, because a lot of times what we've been told to be scared of is the very thing that will liberate us. When he talks about George Floyd, I'm going to be sensitive about this situation because I know that your emotions have been stirred when it comes to him. And I'm not co-signing any of the rhetoric that has to do with further desensitivity, because now we're talking about two brown men. All right. So two Hebrews, and respect is due regardless. But what I will say is that when he made the reference to Virgil, because some of us don't catch those things, we're not in those circles. He's talking about Virgil Abloh, Abloh. That man is the creator of Off-White. He's also the head of Louis Vuitton or Louis Vuitton, okay, menswear. And he died at the age of 41. And that's why he alluded to it, saying he was like, it said it was cancer. He alluded to it, and that was enough before Noriega, who knows better, cut him off and moved and switched the subject. These men are seasoned in the den. They understand language that we have to start to understand if we're truly going to keep ourselves from being violated. If we're going to adorn ourselves with a chastity belt in this market, you got to understand what's happening. All right. So he said, and it didn't blow past me when Ye said that we lost him. He's saying that the Hebrews lost this man who was well placed at a height. He was the head of Louis Vuitton, and he was the head of Off-White, major fashion brands. This man in this powerful position, in the set and skin that he's in the descriptions that he carries, is important. And we've lost that importance because he has some power that we cannot tap into now because he's gone. So he said, I could have cried. The interesting thing about that is there's a sound bleed in that moment as well. You can go to, it was 15 minutes in about 10 seconds. There's another sound bleed. And again, that's the frequency change. And then the subject gets switched again. I peeped how Kanye said he was disappointed he couldn't hang with Candace Owens. She's from Connecticut. I don't rep her, but there are some things that I do believe she's not wrong on. And so maybe it's because I'm from Connecticut. Maybe it's in our water, whatever it is. But I want y'all to fight the urge to dismantle and cancel people who share the same descriptions as you, because their story can easily be your story because you fit the description. Don't let that go over your head. All right. So he says that Tucker Carlson thinks it's nice that a black man supports Trump. This is important. But Ye doubts that they will be loyal to him in 2024. Y'all think that our boy is crazy for mentioning and deciding that he's going to do a thing in 2024. You know, the thing that he wants to do. But this is actually not about him. This is about him telling you, y'all thought that I sold out. But I'm letting you know that even though my shoulders and elbows rub against these people who think that it's cool that I wore a MAGA hat, I know they don't really support me. And I know that. But I'm doing this. It's like a wink, like, and we're supposed to go, got it. Because in 2024, the Hebrews are supposed to move. According to your spirit, pray about everything, right? According to your spirit, but use the truth. Use the truth and use this. You have enough in here as people of God, and God will not hold any good thing from you. So if you really want to know, if you really want to understand what's happening and what you should do, pray. Pray to the Most High God, the creator of heaven, earth, and sea, and all that in them. Get your Bible and read Exodus 28 through 11 and honor your Sabbath. After that, it will come to you. I promise. It will come to you what you should do and what you shouldn't. All right, moving on. I don't want to get too far off what I'm trying to give you right now. There's a lot of rhetoric back and forth about these Kardashians. We don't need to go over there. He speaks about. I like the moment where Kanye says that, or Ye, sorry Kanye, sorry Ye, who he is now. He admits to seeing things differently, but you got to catch it underneath the current. He's trying to like re-educate you on who he is, and so he says he's a Gemini, dyslexic, left-handed, made to be right, so he can fit in. Take it apart. Lyricism, okay? Gemini, there's two of him. Dyslexic, one sees things the other way, right? Can see things in a flipped way, right? Left-handed, really supposed to be this side, made this side right so he can fit in. He's still left-handed though. Catch it, all right? And so what he's basically saying is I see things differently. I see things in multiple perspectives. That hit me so deep because I am left-handed, true to life. I'm left-handed. You know what I mean? And I do see things differently as well. That's probably going to be one of my favorite Ye quotes. Yeah. And being two different people, being both Kanye West by contract and Ye by freedom is a big thing. Let's pay attention. Pay closer attention than you've ever paid attention before to this man. All right. He's already re-endorsing himself when he talks about Nike. He says Nike is popular in the hood. Basically, he gives the number. I think it's like 392 on popular charts. That Nike is that brand. It's popular to the Hebrews, but it's not popular in the world. Very important, because what he's trying to do is make sure someone like Kyrie, when they drop him and they have to come back full circle, he can get everything that was taken from him back. So when you hear Ye say that he's Moses, I need you guys to understand what he's trying to say, because the plan is clear. He said step one, he said drink Douce, right? Instead of Hennessy, right? So Douce, we know, that's Jay-Z's. So technically a Hebrew-owned business, over Hennessy, which is owned by Bernard Arnault, right? So we drink that because it's Hebrew-owned. It's Black-owned, right? And then the step two, he says, in 6 minutes and 45 seconds, is exposure. He doesn't say it that way, but that's what he's talking about. He's talking about exposure. He says, if you want to keep a secret, then don't tell me. That's a message, right? That's a message. And so I don't even need to keep going from here. What I want to give you guys before I log off is this very clear summation. All right. If Ye, um, if Kanye, let's talk about Kanye. If Kanye West, the person who's married to the power, right, is abused in his relationship and violated repeatedly in different assets and facets, in different orifices of its body, being ruined and ran through and misrepresented and treated harshly and defamed and taken down in all types of disgusting and disruptive ways. If Kanye West is going through that, and he had to then port himself into a witness protection program, change his name and everything to get free. Every time they drop him, it's like Russell Simmons said, he gets more freedom. Every time they cancel him, he gets more freedom. And the people who listened to him when he was Kanye will listen to him when he's Ye. But the difference is that he will no longer have obligation to that marriage. They've divorced him. They've signed the papers. So that's why he's laughing about losing the money, right? Because they took a hit, because they're listening to public opinion. And if the public opinion changes against the power and the power narrative, seeing that now it's not just Ye, but now it's also Kyrie who's now going to say, hey, I've been violated. I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was say I looked it up and here's a clip and they violated me. And then another one says, wait, they violated me too. All I said was what they did to Kyrie was a little bit too much. And because of that, they violated me. And then it's, oh, that person and Kyrie, I don't think that they were wrong, but they violated me for it. That's the movement he's talking about. That's that Me Too mentality he's talking about. And what happens when all of these people who are consummate professionals, all of these people who are amazing at what they do, so much so that they were able to get these major contracts anyway. What happens when all of those major contracts are released and voided? Did the talent go anywhere? No. The Hebrews reposition power. The pendulum shifts. And now it's a new day. It's a new dawn. And who got the best music, the best clothes, the best concepts, the best buildings, the best athletes, the best competitions, the best vocals, the best songwriting, the best drummers, the best blues, the best, you name it. Who got all the Michaels? The Hebrews. And that is when you see the last become the first. I hope y'all understand a little more what's happening around this man that they're calling crazy. Because if he does what I believe he's doing, he is indeed creating a liberation, a liberating brand. And that is why he looked that man in the face on that interview on the news. And he said, in 10 years, you're going to be apologizing to me. Because he knows who holds up the temples. Samsons, Hebrews. Who's holding up the pillars? Who made the pillars? I'm not telling you anything new. And because they know that, they're okay with releasing the contracts as long as you don't know that. But if you know that now, are you going to go and buy the next Ye record? Are you going to go and buy the next Ye sneaker? Are you going to allow Ye to become the new Balenciaga and Louis Vuitton? Are you, probably you, could you become the new Kyrie? Are you going to now be in the car and demand a check for your starting five who was with you when you were shooting in the milk crates and get them all a check rather than get them all fed by you? You see the difference that he's trying to create with this chaos? I don't think we should believe anything but what we truly, truly, truly have been told in our heart, not necessarily what they tell us. I know I don't know him, and I know that you don't know him, and I know you don't know me, and I know that I don't know you. But what we do know, if you have any descriptions that are like me, is that you have had some people in your life whose story is redundant as the people in mine. I could tell you a story about a boy that I know, and you would know a boy that was similar. And the reason why you know that same boy is because we fit the description. So I just want to give you an opportunity to make your own decisions. And I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. And before I part, I want to just reiterate myself. A freedom song is still beautiful and